going to throw it back a couple of weeks for today's episode because we got some new evidence that Green Bay had a phenomenal draft. I don't know about how you feel about it. I felt pretty good about it when the day was over. Day 3, that is. When it was all said and done, the 8 picks came, the 8 picks went, and we had 8 new players to look forward to on the roster. But after today, we're going to look at an ESPN article that outlines one specific player that I think you should be really, really excited about. Before we get into whoever that player is, though, let's get you up to speed on whatever happened just a couple weeks ago. All the picks: Matthew Golden, Anthony Belton, Savion Williams, Barryn Sorrell. They shocked by going wide receiver twice in the first 3 rounds, and offense each of the first 3 rounds. And then on the back half of the draft, Colin Oliver, the linebacker edge rusher out of Oklahoma State, was a selection. Then Warren Brinson. Micah Robinson was a cornerback that not a ton of people had on their draft boards, yet he was the one they selected. And then John Williams rounded it out in the 7th round. Now, today we're talking about Barryn Sorrell, and I want to tell you guys where I stand and where I've stood on Sorrell since the very beginning of this process, because this was my video the night of day 3 of the NFL draft. When it was all over, I said Barryn Sorrell is the best pick, was the best pick for the Green Bay Packers. Out of all 8 of them, I love the value that you got of him as an edge rusher who'd played in the SEC, who'd been great in the SEC for a very, very long time. And it seems that ESPN agrees with me, right? I'm not the only one sitting here thinking Sorrell is the best. They think so as well. We're going to hear from Field Yates and some other people in just a second. But make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. 880 subs. That's what we've got so far in the month of May. We're battling with the Vikings Now channel. They're 3 subs below us, so we've still got the lead, but we need to keep putting them on them, okay? Do me one big favor, hit that subscribe button if you hate the Vikings, if you love the Packers, and if you're happy you found us right here at the Packers Report on YouTube. Join us today by subscribing. So ESPN did something really cool. They ranked what they like to call impact players that were selected outside of round 1, because it's easy to look at everybody's first round pick and say, you know what, they're going to have a ton of impact this next season in the National Football League. They did something different. They said, okay, let's look at rounds 2 through 7 and see who the best players will be. They ranked them from 1 to 10, and here they are for the defense. Now, one thing you'll notice is there are no Green Bay Packers on their list, which kind of frustrated me at the first glance and at the first scroll through the article. I was like, okay, that doesn't really make any sense, because I thought Barryn Sorrell was a really good selection. I thought he'd be at least top 10. But the good thing is they didn't stop there. They listed 3 other players, and they labeled them as the 3 players to watch for. And that's where we finally found our boy. It was Barryn Sorrell. He was listed. It's also Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, the defensive lineman for the Minnesota Vikings. And then Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle for the Dolphins. So no, they didn't mention Barryn Sorrell in the top 10, but they thought he was good enough. They believed in his ability enough to say, you know what? We're going to hedge our bets a little bit, throw in 3 more, and just say, hey, look for these guys as well. Here's what Field Yates had to say on the defensive end. The Packers were tied for the highest percentage of snaps in zone coverage last season at 70.2%. But I think defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley wants more man coverage. He just didn't have the right personnel. The best way to help corners in man coverage is having an impactful pass rush. And he's not wrong. He went on to say that Sorrell brings value because of his versatility, as Texas did a very good job of letting him rush from multiple alignments, including as an interior rusher. That's a blueprint Green Bay can follow. And it's a blueprint that I hope Green Bay does follow. He's got a lot of really great traits to his game, and we're going to break him down in just a couple of seconds. Before we do that, I need you guys to take a guess for me. How many sacks for Sorrell in 2025? I would probably lean towards a number like 6 or 7. 5, anywhere from 5 to 7, I'd be really happy with. You guys let me know your answers down below. The pass rush was a problem in 2024, just like Field Yates had said. It's a reason they had to play so much zone coverage, because they couldn't depend on their edge rushers and any of their defensive linemen consistently to get to the quarterback. The sack leader was Rashawn Gary, 7.5. He also led the team in pressures, 49. Not a single defensive lineman had over 50 pressures in the entirety of last season. It was just like, it was head scratching. And it makes these statistics, 8 sacks and a sack percentage of 6.9%, both of those top 15, one of those top 10, it makes those numbers kind of confusing. They're like masking statistics, right? They don't show you the problem. They make it look like there isn't a problem. Until you dive a little deeper, you find out the truth for yourself, and you see, okay, that's where they struggled. Pass rush win rate, 35%. That was 26th best in the National Football League. They pressure the quarterback 210 times, bottom half of the league. Quarterback pressure rate of 32.3%, 20th best in the NFL. They really weren't good at any of those targets. Not targets. They just struggled. They struggled to get consistent pressure on the quarterback through the entirety of the 2024 season. It was a big problem, okay? It was a very big problem. They could get to the quarterback, but if they weren't sacking him, they weren't pressuring him. And Field Yates mentioned it. One great thing about Barryn Sorrell is he's versatile. So if you have a problem, you believe, in the pass rushing in the interior, he can go in the interior. He can also go in the exterior, right? Sorrell generated 20 pressures and 3 sacks on 103 snaps from the 3, 4-eye, and 5 technique alignments with a 19.4% pressure rate. That is sky high. He can go anywhere on the defensive line. So if you feel like the edge rushers need help, guess what? Barryn Sorrell, you're out there. But if you feel like they're doing well, then sure, put him in the middle. He had a great year last year in 2024. His best at the University of Texas. 44 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 49 pressures, and a pass breakup as well. I mean, he was such a key piece in their defense, right? He was such... And it's so impressive, too, because they lost some really good players, more on that in just a second, but he was able to step up and fill their shoes without missing a beat. So we're going to round this out by talking about 3 things that I love about Barryn Sorrell. 3 things that I think you should love about Barryn Sorrell. He's got elite athleticism. And I don't use that word elite lightly, okay? When you're elite at something, that means you are a step above the rest. You're a tier above. And when you look at his relative athletic score at the NFL Scouting Combine, a 9.27, it was incredibly impressive. I mean, look at all those green little, look at all that green on there. Let me just say that. 40-yard dash was a 4.68. He also ripped out 28 bench presses, broad jump of 10 feet, 1 inch, 3-cone 7.06. And that was good enough to be the 133rd ranked defensive end out of 1,820 from 1987 to 2025. That means over the last, 38 years, he's the 133rd most athletic defensive end that's been at the Combine. I'll take that any day of the week. Also, I love that you're getting him right from his peak. Right? He peaked at the end of college. I think so often with these prospects that we see really great athleticism in, that we see really great traits in, they kind of peak their sophomore year, like a James Pierce Jr., right? They peak in year 2. Everybody expects them to have a massive senior year. And then once they're the guy, they kind of take a little bit of a step back in production. That wasn't the case with Sorrell, right? You look at that last season, 44 tackles. Tied for his career best. 11 tackles for loss. That was a career best. 6 sacks. That was a career best. 49 pressures. That was a career best by 10. He was great. And it's so impressive because, like I mentioned earlier, they lost 2 really good interior defensive linemen, and Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat. Okay, they were the 16th and 38th overall picks in 2024. So it's likely that you'd expect a guy like Sorrell to have a really good year in 2024 with them in the lineup. But like I said earlier, they get drafted, he becomes the guy, and he takes a little bit of a step back. That didn't happen. The exact opposite happened. He stepped his game up. Let me know down below which Packers pick was your favorite. I said Barryn Sorrell the day after the NFL draft was over. I want to know your thoughts right now in the comment section. And I also love, we're going to round this thing out, the fact that he's incredibly durable. And that's what you need, not just from somebody in the National Football League, but for somebody who plays that position, okay? That's such a great luxury to have because the best ability, Dylan, is what? Availability. Thank you, my friend. And he played 49 consecutive games at the University of Texas. 49 consecutive. That's almost 50. He also started 30 games in his final 2 seasons. He was on the field. He was on the field often, okay? And we saw this last year in the postseason that having elite defensive players is how you win in the playoffs, okay? Having an elite defensive line that's disruptive is how you win in the postseason. And we saw it perfectly on display in the Super Bowl. Okay, think of how dominant that Philadelphia defensive line was against Patrick Mahomes. They didn't blitz him once. They forced 26 pressures, 6 sacks, and a pressure percentage of 42.9%. They took that game over. And they did it all playoff long. 92 pressures in the 4 games they played. 15 sacks, and a 15.4% pass rush win rate. They were dominant. They couldn't be stopped. They weren't stopped. They were the reason that they kicked the Chiefs' ass so much in Super Bowl 59. We're going to get on out of here, but make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and also that you guys follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter or X at Joey Peterson8. You can find me on Instagram at Joey Peterson8 as well. I'm getting real close to 900 Twitter followers. Would really appreciate it if you guys help me, get over that edge. I'll see you next time. Y'all have a great day.